welcome back again, all of you Total Legends. Today we're taking a very good look at the Valkyrie Factory VF1S of the Arcadia VF1S fighter. You can get other Valkyrie Factory products currently. You can get the strike parts both in that turquoise grey colour and clear. You can also currently buy the flight stand. They've just started production of the Rick Hunter version of this. That's a limited edition run. Also coming up, they have the Max and Miriam, which they'll be releasing. They're also releasing a giant battle pod, which comes in 2 colours. They also have a bunch of missile pods and upgrades and other sort of Robotech related stuff that I don't know much about, but here are the pictures, so get excited. Now this sample was provided to me by showzstore.com. Last time I looked, they had plenty of this guy in stock and the strike parts accessory pack available. Head over to their website and take a look. Now, those of you following my Facebook and Instagram may have noticed that I received this a couple of weeks ago. I've just been a little bit too busy lately with family and work commitments.
You seem a little tipsy.
As you can see, it comes in this beautifully well done box. It is very brown, it is very square. Yeah. Alright, let's get it open. Alright, so we have quite a few accessories. First we have the UN Spacey blaster. It's just all black plastic. Not seeing any mold lines, sprue marks, nothing. A little bit of red plastic in the end there, some detail in the actual barrel, and it looks good. The UN Spacey writing is good. Have it one way for when he's holding it in robot mode, and the other way for when you stow it underneath in jet mode. To use this in robot mode, just extend the back, and then this handle comes down and out, just like that. And he holds that nice and securely. We also have a couple of static, flexible plastic hands. You see they're not entirely solid. The details on these aren't too bad. I feel that these are a little bit too big, whereas the hands that originally come with him are a little bit too small. But anyway, the details are sharp enough. Some mold lines, but nothing too serious. Bit of yellow paint there on the knuckles, which isn't done particularly well. But yeah, whatever. To use these extra hands, you're just going to unpeg the first hand and then just slot this one back in. And that is nice and secure. And while I've got it, let's just untab this. Now, it's got a tab hole in it, but it doesn't really reach all that well. But there is enough friction inside that hand that it will go in. There you go. Nice and secure. Then we get a few of these missile pods. Now, they are all roughly about the same. Just a grey plastic missile pod with the white missile tips there. Other end there, no sprue marks or defects or anything else I can really mention. And we also get these other Sidewinder missiles. Fairly certain these are from one show and they're from another, but I don't really know all that much about it, to be honest. These look nice. They've got black paint on the front, black paint on the back, and it is all done neatly. I'm not seeing any sprue marks apart from up the top here, which don't matter, or mold lines or defects. So attaching these missiles is a little bit more than just simply tabbing them in. There's actually like a locking mechanism, so I'm not sure if this is coming up or not. There's a lip sort of around this tab, and you got a little opening just here next to this rectangle bit. So this missile has hooks around the tab, so I'm just going to twist this a little bit to make room. So we're going to plug that in like that, and then twist and twist, and now locked in place, and that looks amazing. Then we get a couple of brackets. I'm not sure which is which. One of these is for jet mode, the other one is for robot mode. He doesn't come with a flight stand, so you have to buy that separately. This bracket here is to remove the cockpit from another Veritech and then plug it into this section here, and then this will tab onto the arm and you can carry a cockpit around on the arm. The problem I'm having with mine is this. It's not tight at all. It's really loose, so not the greatest. We also get this little black piece here, which is to fill in the gap left behind the head. So the head will fold forward and this will tab in, just filling in that space just to make it a little less unsightly. And then in a similar way, we have this section here, which will tab into the exact same spot in the back of the neck, but you can plug Roy's chair into it, and you can have him come out the back of the neck, just like Rick Hunter did in the same episode with this thing. Episode 2, I think it was. And then while we're looking at that seat, we'll take a good look at Roy. As you can see, he is so tiny. Look how tiny that is. So tiny, but he's got some good detail going on him. Something so tiny, a couple of little red dots there, some yellow paint. Yellow and black in the helmet. Yellow is difficult to do over black, so I'm glad to see that there isn't too much bleeding in that at all. I mean, it is a little bit messy, but it's a KO, and look how tiny that is. Little backpack detail, and yeah, he's not solid piece, he's a little bit bendy, which is good. And he fits in the cockpit chair just fine. But he doesn't actually slot in, so if you're going to display it like this, I'd probably just put a little bit of blue tack or something under his ass. And as you would expect, Roy fits in the cockpit just fine. It is a tight seal, so I'll just grab it from the front, unpeg that, and just slot him in. Now you position his butt perfectly, and then you'll see that his little hands are sitting on the actual control sticks. That's a cool touch. Cool touch. It looks really good in there, and then fits with the cockpit shut. No issues whatsoever. Barely rattles. Nearly forgot one more accessory, and that is the side fillers that help fill in some of the detail in robot mode, because it gets a bit gappy. But we'll get around to this a little bit later. And that's it for accessories. Onto jet mode. Alrighty, onto the jet itself, and isn't that just, wow, just absolutely beautiful. So when it comes to the paint and detail on this thing, it is near perfect. Near perfect. Some of the tampo details and other paints down the side here, look at that. Super crisp. That just looks amazing. A little bit of red paint there, that's a bit messy. Well, not really messy, it just sort of looks out of place. It's just a red dot. Black here is nice and neat. Same on the other side, very consistent. If we open the cockpit, you can see they've painted the seat tan color in there. And then inside the cockpit, I'm not sure if you're seeing that or not, we've got some amazing cockpit details. The window is nice and clear. I do have a bit of a mold line down the middle, but the black bordering is done nice and neat. The yellow and black here is done nice and neat. I'm not seeing too many errors or anything. Black down here is not too bad. I do have some black speckle. Not sure if you're seeing that or not, just on the wing, just along the back there. It does seem to be, some of it's coming off, but some of it isn't. The numbering down there is done right. This blue is just a little bit, yeah, it's not too bad. Nice logo there on the side, and then onto the side of the jet itself, we've got the intake tampo details there. More red paint that looks a little bit out of place. Black down here is nice. The UN space here looks pretty good. I've got a little bit of black bleeding coming up from underneath, but yeah, I don't really care. It looks good. Yellow here is a little bit watery, and it's filled some of the details around the edge, but mostly okay. Bit of yellow on top of black here, which is done well. No bleeding of the black, nothing. On the tail fin, the black is all done well. The skull and crossbones is done well. This yellow is a little bit fuzzy. You see it's gone into the black just a tiny bit with a little bit of red on the back. Other side is just as consistent. So both sides exactly the same. Some very, very minor errors that really are debated whether to mention them at all. Underneath, we have the Veritech head, so you can articulate the ear lasers a bit, and you can also rotate the head slightly if you would like. Now we've got landing gear in the back. I can never remember which way these doors open. And there we go. One goes one way and the other goes the other way. It's a die cast leg there, and it is a die cast wheel with a rubber tire, and mine doesn't really turn that well, and the rubber tire does just come off pretty easily. It's a bit misshapen. Now we also do have the front wheel, obviously. These doors, they're just a little bit funny to get out. Pull that up. We do have the tow hitch. Now the front wheel does rotate. It can go the full 360. Then you have the two die-cast wheels with rubber tires. Those tires hold on a bit better. Oh god. How did that come off? That's just friction in there. Yeah, alright. Haven't had that happen before. Hopefully never again. Alright, let's get it transformed. Now this bit's very important because it is tabbed here and here, and if you apply too much pressure, it doesn't untab and it's flexing that hinge quite a bit. So the way to do this is you need to push downwards. You need to push that direction because you need to force these two tabs this way. Ready? So you've got to go like this. So you're going to hold on to this and push the other way. When folding this section out, you've got a tab just there that this armature here needs to clear. So it just takes a little bit of lifting over and then folding out. I have a really hard time pulling these out, so I just grab the toes and separate. That's it, he's done. There he is in Guardian mode. It's very goofy. It was goofy in the cartoon, of course it's going to be goofy here. It might seem a little bit unstable, but that is just my base. The toes are sort of falling in between the gaps every now and then. On a normal flat surface, it is very, very stable. And it's balanced quite well. Now, one issue I am having after the transformation is this little panel on the back of the thrusters here. You can see I've got a bit of separation, getting some separation there in the plastic, and it's just something to do with the hinge. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't want to go flat. Maybe there's a bit of flash in there or something. I don't know. So articulation in this mode, where as you saw during the transformation, I've got very tight ball sockets here on the shoulders. It's a really, really awful sound. Listen. That is just absolutely terrible. That is a lot of pressure being put on this little plastic armature thing here that the ball socket's on. Look, and it's causing pressure on that hinge. So someone on my Facebook page recommended that they took their arm off, sanded down the ball socket a little bit, and that seemed to have solved their problem. I might just squirt a little bit of lube in there or something to help loosen it up and see how I go. I don't want to mess with this too much before I lube it up, but I will just show you. You can go down that far, and you've got a little bit of a hinge here for transformation, so you can go up on that if you want, but it's not the tightest. Or you can go up on the ball socket that far. So not that great of a range. You can move this shoulder pad out of the way as you need to. We also have an upper bicep swivel. This side is a little bit loose, that side's a little bit tighter, and we've got a double jointed elbow. We've got ratchet on the upper joint here, and then friction below that, which gets a crazy good range. And then down to the wrist, plenty of motion, and because it's a push plug, we do have full 360 all the way around. And when it comes to the hand, we've got a thumb that just goes up and down like that. We have the trigger finger and the remaining typewriter fingers. All of them nice and tight, nothing loose at all. Other side is exactly the same, with the exception of this ratchet. On this one, it's super tight and just doesn't want to move. Look at this. It really doesn't want to do it, does it? Yeah, pretty tight. So then down to the legs. You've got the upper knee swivel, which is pretty good. You do get a full 360 if you want it. Since extending those legs, we get extra clicks forward for more stability, and we get all the way back. So as you saw a transformation, when it comes to the feet, you can rock the feet forward and back, and you can separate the toes more if you want. It doesn't really help. You do need to keep them pretty flat, but you do get quite a bit of motion on that. So yeah, not much to do articulation wise in this mode. He's pretty static. I guess you just sort of position him like so and chuck a gun in his hand or something. But yeah, it still is pretty cool. The back of this looks like a train wreck, however. That is just so empty and just so... that is just awful. I guess you're not really going to be displaying it backwards, but it would have been a nice touch if, say, these fillers for robot mode would tab in somewhere. I don't know. Like that, maybe. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Alright, so let's transform this up into the robot mode. Alright guys, there he is in his robot mode. Now, those of you familiar with this may have noticed a couple of errors during that transformation, and one of them errors is this section in the back here. Now this hinge has been put on backwards in the factory. This should be the other way around. This little curved area here should be inside the nose of the cockpit, and this section should now close flat. The problem I have now with this is that the torso, this arm here, isn't sitting flat enough, and the torso now doesn't close together enough. So you can see the gap fillers are still have quite a few gaps in them. It's not really filling too much in, and they don't sit in very well either. They fall out really easily, especially these peg holes that they go into. They're not very good. They're not very strong at all. Another thing that I just want to mention about the robot mode is in the transformation, to hold the backpack on, you've got this hook that you flip around and hook onto this section here. I've decided not to do that because these two bumps here have left a big indentation. See that right there? In the paint and the plastic. It holds up on its own, so it's not worth it for me. So articulation wise, most of it is pretty much the same as with Guardian mode. A couple of the differences now. Do have the head, which is on a push plug. Get the full 360 on the head. The head itself has a hinge, but you don't get up and down very far at all, and when you get all the way up, it kind of looks like a bird beak. You can, however, use this grey hinge to get back that far and forward that far, so you can have him looking down just a little bit. And while we're taking a look at the head, we'll take a look at some of the details. He's got green clear plastic for the visor. There's no detail behind it or anything. There's no light piping or anything like that, so it mostly just looks dark grey. We've also got just a little bit of red paint there on the head. The grey paint on the little ear lasers looks good. Have some like orange plastic here on the shoulders. They almost look like hazard lights, really. Also in robot mode, we now have this, I think it's a heat shield, comes down, covers up the whole cockpit. Skull and crossbones looks good. I think it's slightly off center, which is really starting to annoy me a little bit. Not a big deal, but now that I'm looking at it straight on, that is a little bit frustrating. I have a few chips in the plastic. Some of the black paint is coming off a little bit. Nothing too drastic at all. And that's pretty much all the new details that there are in this mode. Articulation wise, like I mentioned before though, arms are pretty much exactly the same. When it comes to the legs, we're on those ball sockets now. If you're using the ball socket forward and back straight, you only get forward that far and back that far. If you bring it all the way around the wing, you can pretty much get the leg wherever you want it. But when you're going forward, you just have to use that extra hinge there from Guardian mode to get the full 90 degrees, and the ratchet is nice and strong. The ball sockets are a little bit weak under the weight, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. With the legs collapsed in all the way, it still does the reverse bend, which I don't like. I wish that when you pushed it back in, it was sort of wouldn't go forward anymore, but it does. And then we get all the way back like that, and those ratchets are nice and strong as well. All of the joints on this are nice and strong, so overall it's good. When it comes to the feet, I have collapsed the ankles a little bit, so I think I get one more click back on that toe, and that's pretty much it. You get one, maybe two forward and back, which is more than enough really when you're posing him. The only problem I'm having is just a little bit of instability because of my base. Apart from that, he's pretty good. He's near perfect. Alright, final thoughts. Let's get a few size comparisons out of the way. There he is with Masterpiece Optimus Prime, Matchbox Battle Pod, and Figma Technoman. Here for specifics, however, he is 22 centimeters to the head. Alrighty, on to final thoughts. So is it worth it and should you buy it? Look, I know it's an expensive KO, right? The Arcadia was pretty expensive on release. The after sale market has probably influenced the price of the Valkyrie factory. You can't get a secondhand one of these very cheap at all, so obviously they're capitalizing on that. Build quality seems pretty good. The paint is all on there really nice. The tampo details are really nice. The plastic doesn't have a gloss feel. It has a bit of a matte feel to it, but it doesn't feel brittle or anything. I've only seen one breakage so far on the internet, and that was by someone forcing that transformation hinge that I mentioned earlier. All the details on this are near perfect. Near perfect. I did have some inconsistencies with some of the ratchets, some of the joints, and I did have that manufacturing defect with the hinge in the back. All those things considered, I'm still really, really happy with this purchase. Roy Folker is a very special character to me. It made me quite emotional as a kid when he died, and it was also one of the first experiences in an anime or cartoon that I saw where people really, the other characters really did suffer with his death. Rick probably could have suffered a little bit more, but he was too busy chasing tail. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. He is sturdy, he is dynamic. Yeah, a couple of flaws here and there. Nothing game breaking, nothing that makes me want to throw this out in the trash. I'm really happy with it, and I think you'll be pretty happy with it as well. And that's it. Now, if you like this video and you enjoy what I'm doing, please like and subscribe to my channel. Remember to check out my Facebook for daily news and updates on KO and third-party stuff. Also have Instagram and Twitter. Head over there and take a look. And as always, guys, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for watching.